This guy writes, is fishing hobby a turnoff for girls? So I live in a town with 8,000 people, and so it's like fishing is huge. We've got the river about 15-minute drive from my house, one of the best rivers in, well, I mean, close by is the best river supposedly in the world as far as fly fishing. And so we've got some really beautiful rivers here in Oregon. And so fishing is a big part. And I've actually, when I was younger, I used to take women out for like fishing trips, fishing dates. And I would say it's like to each their own. It's like whoever is, I don't know if they'll be turned off or not, but it's like going on a fishing date at the very beginning stages isn't always the best move. Like sometimes it can work out. Like I've had them work out, but it was more of like an already established like relationship. It was farther along in the dating process. As far as first dates, it's just kind of like, well, if you go fishing together, well, you're kind of just focused on fishing. You're not really focused on, building rapport with the other person, not really talking as much. Sometimes you'll have conversations, but it's like if you're in a boat, you're probably driving the boat. And so it's like you're doing your thing over here, and then she's over here at the front of the boat. And it's just kind of like, well, I don't know. It's tough to kind of have that connection when you're just doing a fishing trip. Sometimes fishing can be like dirty. And so that can be like a barrier to kind of breaking that physical contact. Sometimes it even gets competitive. I've had that experience where it was like I caught like 10 times as many fish as her, and it was like, oh shit, like I'm catching so many fish, and she was actually getting a little bit upset. And finally, I said, well, you want to try what I've got? I was using some other bait. And then it was like immediately she started catching all this stuff. But it was kind of like a competitive kind of thing. And that didn't work out. And it's like, yeah, I'd avoid fishing trips at least for probably the first month of dating. Just because it's kind of like an interesting dynamic. It's like not the ideal dynamic to build rapport, to kind of break that barrier of maybe kissing her, or even just like physical touch kind of deal. And so probably just advise go on dinner dates, maybe go to multiple locations on the dinner date. So maybe one place for appetizers. If things are going good, you go to dinner. Maybe afterwards you go get some drinks or whatever order you want to put them in. And then sometimes maybe like a walk. So kind of it's an opportunity to kind of initiate that physical contact, to kiss. Because that's ideally what you want to do. The progression of it, you shouldn't just like jump, oh, I want to have sex with you kind of deal. There's a progression to it. So it's like you have to build that rapport, that trust, get her to really open up and feel comfortable opening up to you. Once that happens, you can usually set up a kiss. When the kiss happens, then it's like emotions escalate. And then it's like you have a better opportunity for sex. And really the best time to basically ask that is when you're in that heightened emotional sense. Just ask her back to your place or go someplace private. But you will get in trouble if you are doing things like just jumping over to sex, like, hey, or making sex jokes, thinking that's going to set it up kind of deal. It's like eliminate all that crap. Unless you're just like a master at that and basically have devoted tons of time and tons of energy and research into really knowing how to navigate those kind of things. If not, then you can really get yourself in trouble. But back to the fishing post here. Okay, it seems to be the general consensus that a fishing photo on online dating is a bad idea. I've heard that too. Fishing and hunting stuff of like posing with dead deer and stuff. But some people are turned off by like the dead thing, but other people are also turned off by, hey, it's almost like approval seeking. It's like, look how good I did. It's like holding up a trophy kind of deal. It's like you wouldn't like hold up a trophy and say, hey, look how good I am. Because it can be communicated as I'm trying to prove myself. It's like sometimes that's conveyed as like I don't feel like I'm good enough how I am, so I have to prove how good I am, or prove how much fun I do, or prove this. When you get into that kind of approval seeking, it's kind of a turnoff to women. Do girls hate guys who like fishing? No, I don't think that. But I think that if you are approval seeking, then that will cause a lot of problems. And if you're doing like fishing dates too early on, that can cause just kind of an interesting dynamic, because oftentimes it's more difficult to really lead to something more. And when you kind of fail and it doesn't happen as far as you kissing her or you leading to something more in the beginning stages, It causes much more problems down the line, a little bit awkward. She's a little bit hesitant on getting another date. And so, yeah, that's kind of my take on that. And I have tried this many, many times. And so I've gone on quite a few dates, on fishing dates. Some of them worked out, but it's like the other ones, it was just kind of, again, that kind of more difficult dynamic to really proceed further. Again, it's just advised to kind of do something that only you do on a date. Evening dates, dinner dates, appetizers, drinks. That's usually your best bet.